Dongre only on DD India.
Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I am Adil Thomas. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Talks on Gaza truce expected in Cairo today as airdrop of humanitarian aid continues. Pakistan to elect new Prime Minister today, Shahbaz Sharif to face Omar Ayub Khan in National Assembly. Former US President Donald Trump wins Republican vote in 3 US states, edging towards GOP presidential nomination. Well, we start the bulletin with the latest updates from the Israel-Hamas armed conflict as a Hamas delegation arrived in Cairo on Sunday to search for a formula that's acceptable to Israel and Hamas for a lasting ceasefire in Gaza after foreign governments restored to airdrops to aid civilians in the enclave. A Hamas delegation arrived in Cairo on Sunday to hold ceasefire talks on Gaza. The delegation is led by Hamas deputy chief in Gaza, Khalil al-Haya. Hopes for the first pause in fighting since November rose last week after a previous round of talks, which was mediated by Qatar and Egypt in Doha, and indications from US President Joe Biden that agreement was close. Meanwhile, a senior US official said that the framework for a 6-week pause in fighting was in place. With Israel's agreement and now dependent on Hamas agreeing to releasing hostages it has held in Gaza since its attack began on southern Israel from October 7th. The United States on Saturday carried out the first of what it said would be a series of humanitarian airdrops of food into Gaza as air agencies warned of a growing humanitarian disaster in the Palestinian enclave in the absence of a ceasefire deal. 3 C-130 US military planes delivered more than 38,000 meals along with Gaza's Mediterranean coastline. Jordanian forces also participated in the operation. The White House says that airdrops would be a sustained effort and that Israel supports them. Also, the U.S. National Security Council spokesperson, that's John Kirby, said that the U.S. will carry out multiple airdrops in the next few days, which will be coordinated with Jordan. Kirby also said that the Biden administration is also considering shipping aid by sea from Cyprus. The World Health Organization delivered fuel and crucial medical supplies to Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital. According to the WHO, the aid delivery included 19,000 liters of fuel as well as crucial medical supplies and antibiotics that could treat 150 patients. The head of the emergency department at Al-Shifa urged for further aid deliveries as the medical complex remains overwhelmed. The WHO delivery came a day after the aid convoy incident in Gaza City. Meanwhile, thousands of Israelis reached Jerusalem on Saturday demanding the release of hostages held in Gaza. The protest concluded a 4-day march that began at one of the sites hit in the October 7th attack by Hamas. 134 hostages are still captive, according to Israeli authorities. As the ceasefire talks continue, the negotiators are also putting prisoner swap option on the table. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris will meet with Israeli War Cabinet member Benny Gantz at the White House on Monday. According to the White House official, during the meeting with Gantz, Harris is expected to discuss the urgency of securing a hostage deal, which would allow for a temporary ceasefire and the need to significantly increase aid into Gaza. The Israeli military promised an exhaustive and truthful investigation into the deaths of Palestinians queuing for aid in Gaza this week. IDF spokesperson, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, said that Israel will present its findings from Gaza aid incident, during which more than 100 Palestinians were reportedly killed and hundreds more wounded while the swarming aid trucks in Gaza City.
Following the incident during which dozens of Palestinians were killed during the entrance of aid trucks into the northern Gaza Strip on Thursday morning, we are investigating this incident. We have all the documentation that we need in order to carry out an exhaustive, truthful investigation into the facts of this incident, and we will present our findings. It was a humanitarian operation we were running, and the claim that we deliberately attacked the convoy and deliberately harmed people is completely baseless.
משוללת כל יסוד.
A ship attacked by Yemen's Houthi rebels has sunk in the Red Sea. The UK-owned Ruby Mare Group cargo ship, which was attacked last month, is the first such vessel that has been lost since the Houthis began targeting commercial shipping. A Yemeni government statement said that the ship sunk on Friday night and also warned of an environmental catastrophe. U.S. Military Central Command previously said that the ship was carrying more than 41,000 tons of fertilizers when it came under attack. Moving on, Russian air defense systems destroyed all 38 drones that Ukraine launched at the Crimean Peninsula early on Sunday after reports of Ukrainian and Russian social media of powerful explosions in the fort of Feodosia. The Russian Defense Ministry did not say whether there was any damage or casualties in the statement. Officials said that road traffic near Feodosia was significantly restricted. Traffic on the bridge linking the Crimean Peninsula to the Russian mainland was halted for a couple of hours before resumption. Russian and Ukrainian social media cited Feodosia residents as reporting powerful explosions were heard in the area of the seaport and an oil depot at about 2 a.m. local time. At least 8 people were killed and 8 others wounded when a Russian drone crashed into an apartment block in Ukraine's southern port city of Odessa on Saturday. Rescue workers pulled 8 bodies out of the rubble and were still searching for more late in the night. According to Zelensky, the drone was a Shahid supplied by Iran. Russia has launched several thousands of these long-range wind drones throughout the war at targets deep inside Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has called on Western allies to deliver more air defense systems after the Russian drone strike on Odessa.
The world knows that terror can be opposed. The world has enough missile defense systems. Systems to protect against Shahid drones and missiles. Dealing the supply of weapons to Ukraine, missile defense systems to protect our people, leads, unfortunately, to such losses and to the constant growth of the list of children whose lives Russia takes away.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump on Saturday easily won the Republican caucus in Michigan. Trump found Nikki Haley, his last remaining rival for the Republican presidential nomination. The former U.S. president also won the Missouri and Idaho Republican caucus on Saturday. Trump beat Haley in all 13 districts taking part in the nomination caucus, according to the state Republican Party. Overall, Trump won with nearly 98% support, which means 1,575 votes to just 36 for Haley. Trump won the primary convincingly on Tuesday, securing 12 of the 16 delegates up for grabs. He took all of Michigan's remaining 39 delegates at stake on Saturday. The former U.S. president also won the Missouri Republican caucus on Saturday, according to Edison Research. Republicans were also holding caucus in Idaho on Saturday, one of the final contests for Haley to alter the course of the race prior to Super Tuesday on March 5th, the biggest day in the primaries when the 15 states and 1 territory will vote. Victories in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, the U.S. Virgin Islands, South Carolina, and now Michigan and Missouri under his belt. Trump is now closer to becoming his party's White House standard bearer and is a likely general election rematch with President Joe Biden, a Democrat.
It's about focusing and preparing and being effective in November. There's not a philosophical divide or an issue divide on those types of things. This is purely on getting the party ready to win in November. The focus is on beating Joe Biden, electing a president, electing a senator, electing Congress people, and taking back our state house. That's what people are focused on.
Republican frontrunner Donald Trump and his last remaining rival Nikki Haley collided in North Carolina on Saturday ahead of a contest next week that could carry deep implications for the November general election. North Carolina's primary is part of a Super Tuesday state of 16 nominating contest that will bring Trump closer to clinching the Republican nomination. It also is the only race that day that will be held in a battleground state that could decide the next occupant of the White House. Trump drew a large crowd for his rally on Saturday at a Coliseum in Greensboro. In his speech to supporters, he called himself a political dissident and focused much of his speech on immigration. Trump edged President Joe Biden in North Carolina in the 2020 election by 1.3% points, about 75,000 votes, the closest margin in any of the states that he won.
More innocent American life should be lost to migrant crime. Got to stop it. It's a new category, migrant crime. We call it Biden migrant crime, but frankly, it's too long. So we call it migrant crime. I came up with that name because I come up with a lot of good names, don't I? But it's migrant crime. It's a whole new category of crime, and it's probably going to be more vicious than anything we've seen. On day one of my administration, I will terminate every open border policy of the Biden administration, and we will begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, because we have no choice. We have no choice.
Well, setting the tempo, Donald Trump before that big Super Tuesday clash with Nikki Haley. Shifting focus to UK, where Britain's Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt is putting the finishing touches to a budget he'll deliver on Wednesday. He will do a series of interviews later ahead of the budget. DD India's London correspondent Ollie Barrett has the latest.
When Jeremy Hunt gets to his feet in the House of Commons on Wednesday, he will hope to deliver a budget that can help turn around the Conservatives' ailing polling numbers. They are 20 points behind the opposition Labour Party, according to many polls at the moment, in a year that we know that there will be a general election. He had hoped to try and do that by rolling out significant tax cuts in this budget, but it now looks like that will be more difficult to do than Jeremy Hunt had hoped. Towards the end of last year, it looked like he might have some so-called headroom running into the billions of dollars, which would potentially allow him to significantly cut taxes. But since then, the economy has weakened. It went into a technical recession over the last 2 quarters for which we have data. And interest rates for government debt have also risen, meaning that the government may well have less money to play with when it comes to tax cuts. And at the moment, the tax burden for Britons is higher than it has been for decades post the cost of living crisis and post the COVID-19 economic crisis as well. So less room for manoeuvre perhaps than Jeremy Hunt had hoped. One area that it's being speculated he may look at is so-called non-dom status, that tax status for foreign domiciled nationals who are resident in Britain. He may look at that to try and save some money. As I say, all of this is seen in the context of there being a general election in the UK at some point this year. We don't know exactly when it's going to be. The opposition Labour Party insists that many of the economic problems that the government and the country face at the moment have been created by what they call the economic mismanagement by the Conservative Party. It is a major political event in Britain, though, the budget on Wednesday that will take place in the House of Commons, and Jeremy Hunt's going to be preparing the ground for it over the next few days. Tax cuts is one of the key areas that we're going to be keeping an eye on to see if Jeremy Hunt does feel he has the money to roll them out or not. Ollie Barrett in London, reporting for DD India.
Well, updates from the Asia Pacific in Pakistan, where senior Muslim League leader Nawaz leader Shahbaz Sharif is set to become the 33rd Prime Minister of the country on Sunday. His closest contender, Omar Ayub Khan of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, also filed his papers ahead of election. The winning candidate will be administered the oath of office at the presidential mansion on Monday. Sharif once again leading a coalition government amidst allegations of vote rigging and a cash-strapped economy and a spike in terror attacks. Pakistan went to the polls on Feb 8th in a vote marred by a mobile internet shutdown, arrests and violence in its build-up and unusually delayed results. In election results, candidates backed by Imran Khan gained the most seats, but the Muslim League Nawaz Party and the Pakistan's People's Party, that's PPP, agreed to form a coalition government which enabled Shahbaz Sharif to be elected as Prime Minister. Meanwhile, Pakistan's former President Asif Ali Zardari and his rival Pashtun politician Mehboob Khan Akhazai on Saturday filed their nominations for a presidential election that is going to be held on the 9th of March. Asif Zardari from Sindh province is the co-chairman of the Pakistan's People Party and has the support of the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz. The new president will replace Dr. Arif Alvi, who completes a 5-year term last year. However, in the absence of the electoral college required to elect a president, Alvi is still in office. 3 more Pakistani citizens submitted nomination papers for the presidential position as independent candidates. The scrutiny of the nomination papers will be conducted on Monday. Well, time now to take a look at other stories from across the world. Norway's King Harald was discharged from a Malaysian hospital on Sunday and was flown home on a medical evacuation plane. The 87-year-old had a temporary pacemaker implanted on Saturday at a hospital in Langkawi after receiving treatment for an infection. The Moroccan government and UNESCO have announced a new project to improve methods for predicting and preventing earthquake risks. The project comes after the devastating 2023 Marrakesh Safi earthquake that struck the Al Haus province. Spanish police in Barcelona arrested 14 people for allegedly producing $1.08 million worth of high-quality fake 100-euro banknotes. According to officials, the counterfeit notes used special inks and watermarks and was distributed across Italy, France, Germany and Spain. The international police operations involving forces in Spain, Italy and Greece began last year after large numbers of fake notes were discovered in Barcelona. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. World Wildlife Day being observed today to raise awareness about the importance of protecting wildlife and their habitats. Ray dominates with 6 wins out of a record-breaking 7 nominations at Britain's Pop Music Honours. Manchester City look to keep emotions at check in Sunday's derby against Manchester United at home.
Human activities and habitat loss are a few among the many threats that birds face today.
I was riding on my pillion and there's a bird which fell right in front of me and I couldn't help the bird and the bird died. I thought something has to be done for this. This is what I thought, and by next year we started a rescue work.
We are like applying 100 kg of phosphorus. A plant is able to get only 8 to 10 kg. Some part will go to nearest water body, but maybe 80% of that will be precipitated in soil.
Group of women in the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu who are not just cleaning up these dump yards but also reclaiming the land and turning it into something beautiful. The romantic city of Venice. But as the world heats and glaciers melt, the future of this city seems shaky.
It won't manage. Mosa won't be able to cope as a structure.
but nor will the lagoon manage because it needs the exchange of water.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Manal Thomas. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense detected 21 Chinese military aircraft and 6 naval vessels around Taiwan on Sunday morning. Taiwan's Defense Ministry said that among the 21 People's Liberation Army aircraft, 1 Chinese drone crossed the Taiwan Strait median line and entered the southwest corner of Taiwan's air defense identification zone. Taiwan sent aircraft and naval ships and deployed air defense missiles to keep a track on the activity of People's Liberation Army. Since September 2020, China has intensified its use of grey zone tactics by making increased use of the number of military aircrafts and naval ships operating around Taiwan. India is touching new milestones under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership. A report by Jefferies Equity Research says that reforms done by Prime Minister-led government have led the stage, or rather set the stage for strong economic growth in the future. According to the report, India is expected to become the third largest economy by 2027 and reach a market capitalization of 10 trillion by 2030. It further states that the Real Estate Regulation Act and investments have boosted sectors like housing and startups, while digital supermarkets like UID, UPI, DBT have got a big push. India's young population and favorable demographics make it attractive investment destination, along with strong earnings, growth profile, track record of generating peer-beating returns. A rising India market weighing helps attract more foreign inflows. In a world where our planet's wildlife faces unprecedented challenges, the need for innovation in conservation has never been more critical. Welcome to the United Nations World Wildlife Day that's celebrated today, where we embark on a journey of exploration and discovery, uniting people and planet through the power of digital innovation. Taposh Bhattacharya has more.
वर्ल्ड वाइल्ड लाइफ डे की थीम में डिजिटल इनोवेशन को सर्वोपरि रखा गया है। आपको ये जानकर खुशी होगी कि हमारे देश के अलग-अलग हिस्सों में वन्य जीवों के संरक्षण के लिए टेक्नोलॉजी का खूब उपयोग हो रहा है।
On 3rd of March every year, the world comes together to celebrate World Wildlife Day, an initiative by the United Nations to shine a spotlight on the incredible diversity of life on our planet. This day serves as a reminder of the intricate connection between humanity and the natural world, urging us to take action to protect our precious wildlife and their habitat. Under the theme of connecting people and planet, exploring digital innovation in wildlife conservation, this year's World Wildlife Day delves into the transformative potential of digital technologies in safeguarding our natural heritage. Advancements in technology, from satellite tracking to DNA analysis, are revolutionizing the wildlife conservation efforts, providing us with invaluable insights into the lives of endangered species and their ecosystem. Satellite monitor wildlife movements, while data aids in understanding migration patterns and land use, bolstering conservation initiatives. World Wildlife Day emphasizes the importance of collective action. It calls upon countries, companies, and individuals to work together towards a just and sustainable future for all living beings. As we celebrate World Wildlife Day 2024, let's harness the potential of digital innovation to preserve our planet's biodiversity for generations to come. Let's make a difference. With camera person Vinod, this is Taposh Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
Big breaking story there coming from Pakistan at this point of time as we speak. There is a development, a political development that's taken place. Shahbaz Sharif has won Pakistan's top job for a second time. He was the sitting prime minister when the country went to polls. We once again have him back there. He's elected. He faced opposition, but then he's elected to the top post for the second time in Pakistan. That's the top update that we have for you at this point of time as we speak. Shahbaz Sharif winning Pakistan's top job for a second time. He returns as Pakistan's Prime Minister. when his brother declined a fourth term, and he played a crucial role together in helping this coalition for 16 months after his rival Imran Khan was ousted. Shahbaz Sharif won that parliamentary vote for the post of Prime Minister, resuming the role he's held since August last year, when Parliament was dissolved ahead of the elections that took place. Pakistan's had a caretaker government since then, and Shahbaz Sharif was named by his party and coalition allies to lead the nation, especially despite his brother Nawaz Sharif winning a seat in assembly and being a favorite to be sworn in. The two brothers, the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, under which this party is known, that's PMLN, had won 80 of the 264 seats that were up for contest in the elections, and they have the support of other parties like the PPP, which has helped them get a majority and form a government there. Now Shahbaz Sharif getting elected. Well, for more on the story, we've got Jessica Taneja joining us. Jessica, what does this mean, especially for Pakistan? We were looking for some kind of headway, Shahbaz Sharif winning the post for the second time. Do we see some kind of, calmness, especially with regards to, the upheaval that we've seen in Pakistan, especially when it comes to the political chaos the nation has faced?
Well, it's been not just weeks of political unrest and turbulent economic environment in the state of Pakistan, but with the election now, the National Assembly electing Shahbaz Sharif, who was the chief minister right before the elections took place on the 8th of February. This was on the expected lines, as you recall, the alliance between the PMLN and the Pakistan's People Party had pre-decided and has in fact gotten seats that were required, while the PPP had a meager 57 seats. The PMLN managed to garner more than 70 seats, but that didn't give them sufficient majority of 169 seats in the the National Assembly. So now with more small parties joining in, they do have the majority to claim Shahbaz Sharif as the Pakistan Prime Minister. Now let's also recall that Shahbaz Sharif, despite the return of his elder brother Nawaz Sharif, has become the Prime Minister. This was on expected lines again because Nawaz Sharif.
Jessica, quick thought from you. Looking at Shahbaz Sharif being more of an administrator, now getting into the, now donning the hat of also being a politician. Do you feel that, clinching that deal with the IMF has been, big shake-up and a big wake-up call, especially when it comes to his political acumen too, in getting things done for the better of Pakistan?
That's right. And if you recall, the 2022 Pakistan floods, which claimed the lives of nearly 1,800 people, had wrecked the country's economy, which is already dealing with a massive year-on-year inflation. Now, if you recall, it was him who was able to secure a $3 billion major bailout package from the IMF. Now, that, crucially, if you remember, expires next month. So he is in the position to negotiate for another IMF bailout, but any kind of aid packages, especially the financial aid packages to sort of straighten up the Pakistan economy, would require a stable political establishment, which hasn't been the case in Pakistan for a really long time. You've seen never in the history of this country's independence, in 77 years, has a Pakistan Prime Minister completed a full term. And with the military's constant interference, there are questions about how this election, which was already rigged and marred by other allegations, is going to serve the best interests of the country and the people who currently continue to suffer because of this turbulent political environment. And let's not forget, Imran Khan is still in jail, while his independence, PTI-backed independence, managed to gain 91 seats, out of which they have 89 seats remaining right now. And they've joined the Sunni Ittihad Council, which could give them 10 more seats, depending on the Election Commission's results on that motion. So, of course, there is still a lot of vacuum that remains in the Pakistan politics, but with Shahbaz Sharif now becoming the Pakistan Prime Minister, many analysts point out
Okay.
that they would need to be able to take in the opposition into consideration if they have to stave off this economic crisis.
Well, Jessica, challenges there, especially with regards to the economic crisis, with inflation hovering around 30%. That's not all. Economic growth being stunted at 2%. A lot of key challenges that Shahbaz Sharif faces in the days ahead. We'll leave it there. Thank you. Appreciate you joining us this afternoon. Moving forward, the Premier League features a massive clash between two of its biggest teams. On Sunday, Pep Guardiola's Manchester City locking horns with arch rivals Manchester United in a blockbuster clash at the Etihad. City are unbeaten in 18 games, while United have lost only once this year. The Sky Blues are currently in the second place in the Premier League standings. They thrashed Luton Town 6-2 scoreline in the FA Cup this week and will be confident ahead of the fixture. Manchester United, on the other hand, are in the 6th place in the league table at the moment and have improved its recent weeks. The Red Devils edged Nottingham Forest to a narrow 1-0 victory in their previous game and will look to achieve a similar result in the match too. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, Instagram. We're going to be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Anil Thomas from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.